Yo, Tyler, the other day, I was driving.
You drove?
I was driving the van, and I was pulling the corner around the beach area, and I slipped, like my foot slipped, and then my hand slipped, and we went splashing into the water. And I gotta tell you something.
What happened?
The van sank.
Oh!
Van sank.
Like episode?
Van sank. Yo, that's right. We got episode Van
That's
sank.
25 for
that's
you.
That's 25.
Non-French speaking.
That Van sank. Getting that Van sank humor. Why am I talking in weird puns? Because I'm crazy. Why am I talking in French? Because this episode was with Mathieu Bich.
Now, there's a little pit of anxiety in my stomach every time I hear the name Mathieu Bich, because it is spelt, and I believe pronounced, Mathieu Bich. But in the episode, I got really nervous that I was going to mispronounce it, and I just went with Matthew like everybody else, because, I only have a grade 8 French education. I didn't even do grade 9. I wish I spoke French. Madame Lichter, you were right. I'm sorry. I was a fuckhead in your class. But anyway, we have an interview with Mathieu Bich. All of you must know him. Paris magician. Super, super creative guy. We spoke to him a lot about his creative process, and we learned a lot about how magic is viewed through his eyes, the art of magic, and he has a lot of strong, well-rounded opinions about him and his magic identity, which I found super interesting because they were responses we'd never heard before.
Yeah, he has very direct approaches to everything that he's doing with creativity in his magic, and things like being very mindful of what resources you consume, sheds a lot of light on his creative process, and he talks a lot in the episode about that.
Yeah, he talks a lot about the restrictions that he likes to give himself and the system he uses in order to create, and also when he feels is a good time to start publishing.
Yeah, and he talks to us about his, he walks us through the story of his Penn and Teller appearance, which is so awesome when we have people on the show that do that, because it richens the footage so much. Richen's not a word. It enriches the footage so much when you watch it. It enriched it when Sean did it, and it's really awesome to actually rewatch the footage after listening to this episode, and he speaks about, what he thought going into it and how he knew exactly what would happen when it would happen. So that was very exciting, and that's it. Without further ado, here it is. Jump right in.
25.
Just the last thing, episode 25. If you're listening to this and it's still September, then you can submit into our September contest. discourseandmagic.com/September contest. It's all there, but otherwise, here we go. I'm gonna go back down to the river and go get my van that sank. Here it is.
Hello and welcome to Discourse in Magic. My name is Tyler.
My name is Jonah.
And we have a very special guest today. We are super excited to be talking to the one and only Mathieu Bich.
Bonsoir, hello.
How are you?
I'm really good.
Good.
You are speaking to us from Paris, that's correct?
Yes.
Which is our furthest guest so far. So that's awesome, making our way around the world. So we will start the way that we generally start, which is to find out how it is that you got into magic. How'd you get here?
Okay. I got into magic very late, based off what my friends told me, my magician friends. You usually start at 6 or 7 with the little magic case you got for Christmas. And I got it. It was a Mickey Mouse one, I remember. But I was not so excited about it, and the tricks didn't work that well. or maybe I was not good enough at reading instructions. So I just didn't interested in that. And a famous French magician named Bernard Billis, card magician, was on TV every week when I was 15, and I was watching him every week, and watching that I thought it was really cool, and nothing else. And about 2 years after, in a big shop, I saw it was a VHS tape at that time, and it was that guy who had done a teaching video, and it came up with a deck of cards. It was an Aviator brand deck of cards, and I said, oh yeah, okay, I could try, and I tried, and I fall in love into magic and into the process of learning, and also I fall in love with the prop, with the cards. It was late at 15.
That's awesome. And one of the things that is very special is a lot of people, they dive into magic and they end up sort of exclusively either, you know, performing or creating or wherever they ended up. Did you start doing a lot of performances before you dove into creating stuff, or were you always that sort of creative engineer type?
It took about 2 years. So it's not a lot, but it took about 2 years. I was really good instantly, not good like amazingly good, but I didn't have any difficulties practicing the moves because I did 10 years of piano before.
So you had nice and nimble fingers. Yeah.
And it was so easy that about 10 years after, when I started giving teaching classes, I didn't understand why my students couldn't do the Hensley count. And
you're like, just do it, just do it.
So it was really easy for me to do all the moves, and I learned all the basic moves in about 1 year or two, and 2 years after I started, I met another French magician, Dominique Duvivier, and he was doing some exclusive teaching to some people, a couple of guys, mostly advanced guys, and I got the chance to have him in interview during an
And
hour.
how old were you at the time?
I start in 95, and I was born in 78, so I was 17.
Cool.
And 94. I started in 94, so I was 16, and I met Dominique in when I was 18. And I have an interview, about an hour interview. I ask all my questions. I was really fan of Dominique Duvivier's magic. And at the end, I asked, but I don't know if you have students anymore. And he said, I have a couple, but I don't have too much time. But if you want, I feel you can be one of my students. So I said yes, and I got a 1 hour class, just him and I. And it was him who probably felt that I could create stuff, because I never created a single trick during those 2 years. And after speaking with him during an hour or two, when I left his not his home, but his business place, I got my first idea.
So what was it about him that brought that out in you?
I don't know. I come from artist family. My mother is a sculptor.
Wow.
When I was young, I did some circus classes and mime. So I was raised in that mood.
Yeah.
But I think I didn't know we could create in magic.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
But it's a really good point, because all
One of-
magic books are written
one-
with the method
Yeah.
and the effect and the
One of the first things you need to create is you need to know you can create.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one step. So he showed it to me, and also he didn't give me any solution, but he showed me the problems in the few magic tricks I've done, and asked me if I was able to solve those.
Right.
And I got a week, and the week after I came with some answers.
Solutions.
Some were good, some were not good enough, but that's the way he was working with me. And little by little, week by week, I created tricks. And the first trick I ever created is a trick we called erased, with some pip you place on a blank card, and you have a card signed, and you remove the pips, so the people sign a normal card, and at the end it's blank card. That's the first one.
Cool.
Created it in '96.
Cool. That's a very common method for teaching in magic, which is to sort of identify where the problem point is, and identify a problem in magic and something that we haven't been able to solve, or extra constraints or limitations. And an interview we did a couple weeks ago with Chris Wheel, who invented Arthur and stuff like that, he mentioned about the importance of limitations. Like the importance of saying that the X needs to happen. The trick needs to have this in it. It needs to have this in it. It doesn't necessarily need to have that in it. So it's interesting that one of the solutions to being extra creative is in having more limitations and having problems and having like a smaller structure.
Yeah, I like. That's one of the things I really appreciate about your magic, is that maybe some of the basic concepts of your effects or things that have been done before, but you've come up with new solutions that are more fitting to your style and don't have the same problems as other effects do. Another thing I thought was interesting was that you said you come from a family of artists. So what was it about magic that drew you to that side of art? Because clearly you were going to be in the art world, but what was it about magic that was so gripping?
I don't know exactly. Today I know a little more, but at the time I didn't know, because when I started I didn't know I could create. I didn't know I could be on stage, because when you get a book or a DVD and it explains some card tricks, you are not thinking about maybe that could bring you on a stage one day. So I think I liked a lot the practice part. I liked the prop. I liked being able to fool people, of course. And all that together in only one art form, I felt that it was it.
Yeah, and I think that it's awesome, and I like that you like the prop of cards. I remember I was speaking with Aussie Wind, and he said, he was like, if there's something that you want to do magic about and you like it, do it. And it seems so silly that's so obvious, that's so like revolutionary, but I was like, yeah, I guess I don't have to have a reason for why I like doing stuff with playing cards and why it's a beautiful prop. I want to do more of it, and that's it. And I'm gonna use it. Have you kept that same sort of creative process where you take limitations with what you're doing and try to solve them, or do you have a different way that you come up with more effects now?
I have a lot of different approaches to create stuff. One of the easiest for me, it's because during all those years I built like techniques and gimmicks and principles. So now I'm like a bartender. I have all those recipes.
Yeah.
And anybody is showing me a trick. And now when I see it, because all those recipes, all those concepts I created, I like them. Because I did it for myself.
Yeah.
There is not a single tricks I published that was done to be sold.
Right.
I create tricks, and I always created tricks for myself. That's why sometimes say, oh, the new Mathieu Bich trick is not that amazing. Yeah.
That's fine. It wasn't for us. It was for you.
You know, I publish because it's time to publish and I want to share. But it was not the reason to be out and to be sold. And because I create all those principles, when I see a trick, I like the trick. I can like the effect. But I say, oh, with my principle, and I will like it better with my 3 principles there. And most of the time when I place those 3 principles inside that effect, it's not the same trick anymore.
Right.
And that's what I've done, I don't know, 30, 50 times, 100 times with tricks effects from others.
Right.
One of the most common ways that people create effects is by working together, is by like sitting together and jamming and sharing ideas. Is that something that you feel that's for you, or do you much rather the sort of alone, able to work it all out?
No, I always worked alone during years. I only share with a few selected people, like 3 or 4, when I have a problem. I mean, I share when the trick is done. We exchange tricks. That's what you do. But when I call some friends is when I have a problem and when I can solve it.
So when do you... This is almost a little bit of a strange question, but when you have a problem that you can't solve, when is the point that you give up? Or do you never give up, you just need more resources and you need more friends to talk to and books and whatever?
I usually give up when I see that the answer is not in my range. If I have a problem with a move, I will call my friend Garrett Thomas, and I know he will be able to solve move because he's the best one in doing that. When I have a problem with a principle, I will call Michael Weber because he knows all the principles in the world. So, but when I feel that the trick is somewhere in my range and I'm just not getting it right now, I just wait and work more. I have tricks that are on my desk for 10 years.
Right. When do you know when a trick is ready to be published? You said that you don't create for other people, but you do release things on the market for other magicians. So at what point do you think that the effect is no longer just for you?
When I have shown it too much.
Good answer.
I created about 800 tricks.
Wow.
That's a crazy number.
I published about 50, 40 maybe. So in the 800 tricks, you have some really ordinary tricks. From my point of view, not bad tricks, but not high quality tricks. You have some just ordinary like working the challenges, things you can talk about, but not amazing. Able to publish in a DVD with other better tricks, but it's not. Of course, all are not the best tricks, but on 800 you have a couple of good tricks.
Yeah, you have some fantastic stuff. I've seen you perform.
So just to finish, when I show it to magicians and conventions, just to be sure someone else publish it instead of me,
Right.
I publish it.
That's when you know,
that's,
right?
That's usually what I do.
That's a good answer. You just sort of like create on your own, and then you show it to enough people, and unless someone says that was published in 1990 something or whatever, then you go ahead and you publish it.
Mm-mm.
That's awesome. So do you pull inspiration from any specific sources, or just, when you see other magicians, because you mentioned that you like to watch magic and then apply your own sort of like principles and your own things to it.
No, I didn't say I like it. I said I do it.
You do.
I can do it. I've done it a lot. No, I don't watch magic. I don't watch magic. I don't want to know about anything that comes out. The only things I see is when some of my friends say, "Hey, you have to see that."
Right.
But I don't want to know what is out, what is the new best thing, because more I have those information, less I'm creative.
Creating.
Because if a cool new Torn and Restore card is out, and I'm at night and I want to work on something, say, okay, let's work on the Torn and Restore card, and if I have this really cool new Torn and Restore card from someone else in my brain, I say, oh no, I won't do a Torn and Restore card because the other one is really good, and I don't feel that I need to create
Make it better.
one.
Yeah.
So it's a problem because I could do another method for that Torn and Restore card. So I discovered that to be able to be free and be able to go wherever I want without feeling any limitations, I decided it's better for me to be far from all those magic release, and also from mine release and my creations. So when I create a trick, when it's done, I just film it, I put it in a safe, and I forget about it. So if you come in my place, and some people who did it will be able to say it, and you say, oh, can you show me your about the 50 tricks? I can't.
Right.
Yeah, I can, but I need about 10 minutes to just watch the video and try it a few times, because I don't know those tricks. And doing that, because I forget about them, I can come back on the same plot, go toward the same solution, and find something else. But if I was aware of what I created,
You'd be happy with the solution already.
yes, and I won't go in the same direction. So of course, some major tricks or really original tricks I cannot forget them. But for all those others, and it's a couple of hundreds, I don't really remember.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because in some light, there's the idea of standing on the shoulders of giants, which is to say that, like, if so many people have done this before, we need to study what they've done so that, we can make sure that we don't create something and then find out that it's already been created. But then the other side of the coin, which is what you're mentioning, which is, I think, a very clever point, which is that it doesn't matter if someone else created it. Because you're creating only for yourself, if you come up with a solution that you're happy with that does everything that you want, but someone else published it in Magic Magazine 30 years ago, it doesn't matter, So there's no reason to be up to date on...
That is a problem with what you are going to do with your creations. If you want to create, and that's a problem with all that new young generation, that they want to create and to have their name outside. So they create and they publish.
Right.
And that's a problem, because before publishing, you need at least to have, I would say, a beginner's knowledge.
Yeah.
You need to have read a couple of books. For the first 5 or 6 years, I read everything that I could get. So you need that beginner's knowledge or advanced knowledge, but you need to have read some books if you like card magic from Marlowe, from Vernon, Diggles, Aman. I mean, you need some
basics, yeah,
at least first, and also when you create, if you just create for yourself, you don't really care if it was created before,
right?
Because it's for your own personal use. And when I want to publish, because I'm not good in sources, I show it to a few friends that are very good in knowledge, very good in knowledgeable, and they said to me, "Oh, this is new. This is not new." It happens recently with a count. I call the French count. It's a 2-4 count, and I created it, and because now with all the knowledge I have, I most of the time feel when something is really easy to find or something is a little outside of the box. So when I create something, I can feel it's easy reachable from any creator, or if it's something more strange, more difficult, if the links to get that solution are more tricky. And I create that account, and I say, oh, this is really interesting, and it's not that obvious. So probably it's maybe original. So I called a few friends, and they said to me that yeah, it was original.
Good. For the young magicians who are looking to become, get their name out there in terms of the creating world, do you have any advice other than know your shit before you put your stuff out there? Like, do you have a process for when a trick is finally finished?
Do you mean that how they know they can publish one trick, or what?
Yeah, sort of like if you said an issue with the younger generation is that they're always constantly watching what gets put out right away, and that they're trying to put stuff out as soon as it's finished, and they don't sit on it for long enough. So, is there any other tips you have for people who want to make their name in the creating world?
If you really want to have your name out there, you need to have the foundations and to place your name on solid stuff. So publishing instantly is a mistake. I think I created during 10 years before publishing anything.
Wow.
So when I started publishing my first trick, I already had like 80 or 100.
Right.
Also it's good to have a trick and to work on it during years, because you can find a variation, you can sometimes find better solution or better handling or a climax, and if you publish right away, someone else will figure out that, and you will lose it. So if you really want to be serious in magic and creating, create your stuff and work on it during a couple of years. And if you don't want to read all the books, just go and show it in conventions to a magician you respect. And they will tell you if it's original or if they know about it or not.
That's really interesting, and it's almost like, it seems silly, but it's really straightforward. It's like, work on it for many years. It's like, keep coming back to it, keep revisiting it, keep, using your knowledge to apply to it to see if you can solve it, and then share it with other people. And
especially if you want to sell it.
Right.
It's just funny for me when I see tricks and you can feel it's something that has been created like
just to sell.
A month ago.
Last month, because they didn't think about. When I see it, I say, oh, but if you just reverse that, you can do that and that and that. What's the point? So it's funny and it's stupid.
And I think that it's really appropriate to work on magic to solve problems that you have. Like instead of coming up with something for the sake of selling, coming up with something because you have a problem that needs a solution is, I think, the best way. And I think that, go ahead.
And as an artist, you can publish it and say, that's my point, my take. And people will like, some people will don't like, but it's your take.
Yeah, that's what art is,
It's not
right?
something you create to be a bestseller. Of course, it's better if it's a bestseller. But I have no issue with people saying, "Oh, I don't like that trick." I don't care. It's
fine.
it's my art.
Yeah.
It's my art. I mean, when you do a painting, you don't care if people like it or not. Of course, it's better if they like it. But some people will not like it, and it's not a problem. That's art. And if you respect magic as an art, you need to work a few years before publishing anything, because it's only an art form where you see a student publishing stuff after a couple of months. You don't see that in any other art form, in drawing, in painting, in playing guitar or piano. Have you seen any teaching piano DVD
No.
with kids that have done 3 years of piano?
No way.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
We often compare magic to film, in like a few different places on our podcasts. But it's sort of like when you're saying it shouldn't be made to be a bestseller, it should be made for you. It's like watching an independent film that is reviewed differently versus a blockbuster, which is, though it's a crowd pleaser, it's not exactly quality.
After, there are some magicians out there, and I won't be given any names, but you will be able to know them, that are creating tricks to be bestseller and to sell, to make money, because their job is not to be magician anymore, is to sell tricks. Okay, so they are coming every month with new tricks, and that's the best trick you ever see. But these are not magicians anymore. These are sellers. Sometimes they are really good. They have really good tricks. But these are sellers, and they are not creator of magic anymore. They are creator of a product.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's on the same range, but sometimes it's totally different.
Yeah, and it's all about like the purpose of why you're creating it, and you can tell when someone creates something that solves a problem versus someone creating, a 53rd way to do a torn and restored card, and it's like, great, this is only mildly different than that was, and not particularly helpful.
And that's also the problem with all those tricks that are created to be sold and are just there to fool you as a client, so you can buy it.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you're disappointed.
Yeah, it's a very deceptive trailer.
They created it just to fool you on a few points, not points from spectator, but points from
for
magicians
for
only,
sure.
just for you to buy it.
Which is crazy. It's crazy to me that the bestseller magic effects are so obviously made so that magicians don't know how it works. Like some of the best effects that I do for my spectators, I don't think would fool a magician who's well versed in magic. I don't think that it would fool a magician. Maybe one, maybe two, but that's not my point. And it's so interesting to me when I see an effect almost exactly like you're saying, especially that it's most often the top effects, that are just exclusively made for that. And we were talking to, just because it's a very similar subject, we were chatting with Chris Wheel about the idea that to sell a good magic effect, it needs to land somewhere in between that top end, which is the magicians don't know how it works, and at least looking like it's somehow going to be workable for human beings, right?
But most of the time it's not.
Right, but it's landing in that middle ground often that takes an effect to take off.
And the luck I have is that my principals most of the time fool magicians.
Right.
So I'm lucky with that, because most of the time they don't understand how my trick works. But I don't create those tricks to fool magicians, so I'm not in the bestsellers.
Right. Almost the reason why it fools magicians is because you haven't been, pulling from the well of knowledge of magicians. You've been using other, other places to draw from, and to bring that. You're mentioning that you have, the resources that you've created and these options that you've created. Are you speaking only about methods, or in some way are you talking about theories or any other tweaks on the approach that help what the effect is that aren't purely method solutions?
I have theories or approaches, and you can feel that because sometimes you see a trick. If you know my work, you see a trick and you say, "Oh, that could be a Bich effect," or that's Mathieu Bich way.
Yeah.
Now I understand. So I have approaches that probably are a little different, but most of my recipes, my principles are methods. So I'm just using those methods I created to create a new trick or to put in a classic effect and make it non-classic anymore. And when something is missing, I create the principle that is missing. So I come
That's
up with
awesome.
new
I love the way that you say it. You're like, and if there isn't knowledge there, then I create it.
Yeah, that's what I have done 100 times.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Penn and Teller, Fool Us, and FISM. So tell me a little bit about that. You were one of the first people on the first season, and I think one of the first people to fool them.
Yeah, not the first one, but...
Not the first one. The first one was John Archer, right?
Yeah. He was in the first episode, but I was, the fifth one or the sixth.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that experience. How was it? What was it like? I know you're usually not in it to fool magicians, you're sort of in it for your own creations, but that's sort of a different...
But I like fooling magicians. Mm-hmm. I like it because it's exciting. But it's not my goal. My goal is to find the my goal is to try to be as close as possible to the thing I would do if I had power.
Right.
And that's why I'm using most of the time gimmicks. Mm-hmm. Some people say, "Oh no, gimmicks! I don't like gimmicks. I don't have to have a 10 deck of cards with me when I walk." Sure, I don't have to have 10 decks of cards on me when I walk. I have a couple, but I don't like to have 10s. But when I'm creating, I don't care. It's not a problem. I'm creating a new trick, and I take all my tools, and it's really difficult to compete with normal cards and gimmicks, because with gimmicks you can do so
anything.
Much more.
Yeah.
And also with gimmicks, most of the time, especially with cards, you can do nothing and something happens.
Right.
If you want to do that with moves, you will have to do moves, and most of the times you will see those moves, or the spectator will feel them. So my approach is trying to get rid of all those moves and be as close as possible as if I was doing it for real.
Yeah, that's a mindset that I only took on later in my Magic career. Was when I started out, I wanted to be a purist and just do pure sleight of hand, and then eventually I was like, I got to do the most powerful magic possible, and that isn't through sleight of hand, right? Mm-hmm.
But it depends of your goal, and my goal was to do the best magic possible, and to do the best magic possible, and it's how I created a spread wave. If you need 10 decks to do an amazing trick, I will have my 10 decks. I don't care. Of course, if I do table hopping, I will probably don't do that trick.
Yeah. You can pick another trick that uses other gimmicks, maybe.
During the process of creation, I don't care. So I like to fool magicians, but it's not my goal. My goal is more to try to create methods that are efficient and invisible. But by doing that, I discovered that I'm fooling magicians.
Right.
So Penn and Teller, they called me, and they say, "Oh, we have this TV show. I think the first one was not out yet, so I didn't really know what it was about. I don't like too much those competition in Magic. I think it's nonsense. Any competition, and including FISM. And so I was not fan about it, and I called my friend Sebastian Clerc and said to him, "Oh, there is that print project. Do you think it's good for me or not?" And he said, "Oh yeah, you will have fun. It's going to be in England. They are really good in shooting magic." And
it was beautifully shot.
Yeah. And go. So that said, I took my spread wave, and I get there.
Wow.
And what was the experience itself like?
I didn't realize when I think about the trick. So I decided to take a spread wave, but it was already out for 7 years, not 7, 5 years, and I wanted to show it on TV because it's a trick I won FISM with it, so I'm really proud of that trick and I like it, and I like the way you handle it, and I like the picture. So I said, oh, I will do that. Maybe they know about it, but they are most stage magicians, so maybe they don't know about it. And if they know, that's fine. And so I take the trick, and my friend Sebastian Clerc said to me, try to add something, because if you keep that trick, they will say at the end of the trick, it's a gimmicked deck. And you will have to justify and say in what way, and it's going to be bad. So I go in my room here and look about, and I have 2 case, wooden case, one with 1 deck of cards, a space to place 1 deck of cards, and one where you can place 2 deck of cards. And I call my other friend Garrett Thomas and I say which one I can use. And I like, I'm an honest magician, and I like it. And so I say I would place one with only one deck inside. And he said, no, use the other one, because they are going to think that maybe you hide something inside. So I say, okay. I go there and I take this double wooden case and my deck of cards, and I go there and I do the rehearsal, and like 5 minutes before going on stage, I opened the case, and I was sure I would fool them. I was sure about it. Because there is no way you can understand how spread wave is working in 1 minute, because it's live. It's 1 minute of thinking. In 1 minute.
One time.
One time. No way. Too complicated. No way. If you can see like 5 times, 10 times, if you can think about it during a couple of minutes, why not? But 1 minute, one time, no. So I was sure I would fool them. The only question I have is that if they have one of their friends who is doing close-up and has it and is doing it always, they know about it. But I take that chance. And so I just place my white case in my wooden box, and I see the empty space, and I was sure they would go to the box after the trick. So I asked for a pen. I didn't have a pen. I take a blank card and I just write no. And that was done like just a few minutes before.
That's awesome. Like moments before a piece of footage that's gonna be like, millions of views and whatever. 5 minutes before, you're like, oh, this is a good idea. Let's just write it now.
And I had because I thought about when I was rehearsal in my home. I thought they would say there are maybe another deck. So I had a no shirt. So I placed my no shirt, but I didn't thought about the card in the case. And I also had another deck of cards in my shirt pocket. So when you see it, it's like some space in my shirt pocket. So it was just to try because I made a fake magician choice with the red and black. You don't need that, but I pretend to be not that clear, expecting they would say, "Oh, there is a magician choice," and my plan was to show the no on my shirt. And by having that deck in my shirt pocket, it was to let them thinking I'm using more cards. But Penn asked me a question, and I had to say yes to validate the fact that there was no magician choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they went on the box, and I opened the box and I saw no, and tell her stand up, and I'm happy, and in my mind I was, because I know TV, and you must react on TV, so I was ready to explode. I was just sure about it. So when they say you fooled us, they say, oh yeah, okay. So I just set up inside some energy, say yes. But that was staged from myself.
I was just acting. That wasn't real excitement. I knew.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy, but not that much, because I knew I would fool them. If they don't know the trick, it's not a mystery. If you don't know that trick, with the condition of that TV show, there is no way you can understand. So that's it. And I come back home and speak about that sequence with a friend, my wife, and I just say, okay, I fooled them. And, that was the plan. This morning, I said I will fool them probably if they don't know about it. And they didn't know about it, I fooled them. That's it. And I wait like 4 months before it's aired in England. And I get the footage, and I'm watching. It's really beautiful. I'm really happy to have done it, and I just put it on my YouTube channel. And most of the time I have like a couple of thousands in one day, like 4, 5, 6. And I put it, go to bed, and come back, and I read the numbers, and I'm a little surprised, because I see a 1 and a 4. And I'm like, I hope I was hoping I could do better, because in my mind it was 1,000-ish.
Yeah.
And I look at the number, and there is an extra number. There's one extra number, and I don't understand how in one night I could get like 15,000. What? What's that? And I go to bed, and the other day I was at 50,000, and we got up to 4 million in a couple of hours.
Incredible.
And after, because the TV didn't want us to use that, they didn't say to us first. But now we are making millions on YouTube. They don't want anymore. Yeah. So they said to us, "Oh no, you can't. You have to. You can use 3 minutes maximum or 4 minutes maximum." And the sequence was 7. And they said that, thinking there is no way you can edit that sequence. So I took off my 4 million views, and because I'm doing editing for myself, I re-edit a version that is 2 minutes point 59. that is enough, and you get it. So, and we have now an extra million, I think, something like that.
That's really cool. And it was, you did, first of all, I think it's so funny that millions of people saw you do a trick which you altered like 2 minutes before. I mean, you obviously didn't alter the whole trick, but you were like, this is what's going to happen, this is how I'm going to do it, and you were exactly right.
And I was in United States a couple of months after, and in New York, in the Natural Museum in New York, in the shop, little shop, someone asked me, "Hey, you're a magician?" And it happens, because I'm known in magic world. So, as usual, I say yes, and you are. And the guy said, "No, but I saw you on YouTube." And it happens a month after in Buffalo, New York, with Gary Thomas, in a sport store. The guy is watching me from behind, but I'm always dressing the same way. I have like 10 or 20 shirts the same way, and I'm always the same. And the guy say, "Hey, excuse me, are you a magician?" I say, "Yeah, you are also." And say, "No, but I saw you on YouTube."
Wow.
Which is really crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome what Penn and Teller Fool Us has done, because people are talking about that all over. You know what I mean? Like non-magicians all over are talking about that, and I just think it's a one of the things that we spoke to Sean Farquhar about going on that show twice, and one of the things that he mentioned is he said when he went on both times he wasn't all in it to fool them. He wanted to produce great television, which I think is perfect. I think he produced great television, and with it, people come up to me and they're like, "Hey, do you know the guy who signed the card and sealed the deck?" And people ask me about your trick on Penn and Teller Fool Us, and it's like they're not magicians, and they're just sharing what they're able to see in pop culture, and I just think it's awesome that people can see real magic in pop culture.
It's because Penn and Teller are authority in United States, and by I would say acknowledge those magicians. They say that is good, and now because people respect Penn and Teller, say, oh, the other guys are good, and that's good magic, and that's clever, and that's good for magicians.
And most importantly, it's on YouTube, it's on national TV, filmed beautifully, massive theater, and these people are able to see that instead of seeing, Now You See Me Too again, or
just
whatever.
Instagram. 14-second videos.
So that was the same effect that you did for FISM.
Exactly.
Correct? And what year was that?
FISM or the creation of
FISM.
FISM, 2006.
And when did you create it?
I should look at it, but I would say about 6 or 7 years before.
Okay.
Wow. There's a long time in that, but did you change it slowly amongst those years, or once it was created, it was just...
No, on the DVD I put the sequence where you see myself at the age of 22 doing playing with the prototype. The only difference was the moves were identical. The only difference was it was not done on blank cards, because I didn't have those those message cards. Your card is. I didn't have those cards, so it was just a double baker card, and I used double baker card because I need to mark them to be sure to know where to cut. I couldn't have blank. I thought of blank, but I couldn't have blank because there is no way you can mark a blank card. At that time, I didn't know there was ways. So I used that, and the moves were there, the cutting, all exactly the same. And when I thought about showing it at FISM, my friend Sebastian Clerc, I asked him to come home, and I said, I'm going to show it, but because I don't want people to steal it, I want to publish it the day I will show it.
Awesome.
So I start a subscription the day I show it to the magicians. Because I was afraid someone, even if they don't get the full 52 outs, would get like 4, 5, or 10 out, and would sell
and publish it,
my plot. Because it's my plot. I mean, a name card on a spread, it's my plot. And I was afraid of that, so I decided to sell it instantly. And so we are working together, and he's working more than myself because he's better in doing that. This is what I should change to be able to make it more magicians friendly. And he said, first of all, blank cards, because there is no way you can justify double backer card. I mean, I can do it, but if you want to sell, most of the magicians will say, no, it's double backer card. I don't know how to say, what to say. So I say, okay, I will do it with blank cards. And he came up with the idea of using those message cards as to indicate where to cut. But aside those outside change, no, it was the same.
What was your reasoning to go to FISM?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you don't really agree with magic competition, but what inspired that decision?
Just to be known. It was commercial. Because I'm from France. At that time, I was not part of Theory 11. I have done some lecture tour, but it was a way to get my name outside easily, and because I don't like the competition in magic, because I think magic is an art, and I don't see any way you can compare I don't know music or art. And
yeah, it's not objectively better.
Who's the best one, Van Gogh or Picasso? Yeah, sure. Go on. Who's the best one? No. Who is the one you prefer? But you can't say who's the best one. That's not working with art. So that's why I don't like magic competition. But I did FISM in the invention category. And invention category is not the same. Invention category, you do the trick, and after you go, you explain it to the judge. The judges have the explanation of all the tricks, and they pick the one they think it's the best, most intelligent, the new principle. I mean, they have some criteria.
Yeah.
And based on those, they pick the one they think it's the best invention shown. So it's not art anymore here.
Yeah, it's from a very different perspective.
Yeah, like very classical, almost mathematical
right
perspective. So that's it.
But it's interesting because it's very different from going out there to perform a trick in hopes for fooling the masses. You know, it's going out there with a trick that you believe is intelligent and new enough to win a competition that's based on that as the criteria. One more question before we wrap up and get to the end. If there was somebody who is just starting their magic journey and they want to be more of an artist in terms of, you know, being, I don't want to use the word creator, because the word creator seems to lend itself to a seller, which is not what I'm saying. But if somebody wants to, you know, solve problems in their magic instead of finding the answers in a book, what would your recommendation be aside from ignoring the stuff that other people are doing right now?
If you are creating for yourself, you have to know and understand that it's easy to create. So if there is something, and that's an advice I give to my student. The first advice to be creative that I give to my students is you take a trick you don't like and you change what you don't like. Because the most difficult thing to create is the starting point, because you don't know what to create, because you can create anything. And that's also a problem I have. So I have tricks to trick my mind to have a starting point or an ending point or a principle to use. So I said to my student, take a trick you don't like, or take a trick there is something you don't like. I'm sure you all have one trick you do, but there is a part you don't like. And change it. You have the right to change it. It can be from Mathieu Bich, from Ed Marlowe. I mean, you can, because it's an art form, you can say to yourself, I don't like the approach of Mr. Mathieu Bich, because that doesn't fit myself. So change that part. And to be easy, try to pick a trick you like, and there is just a little part you don't like. And change it to fit yourself and to fit what you like. And that will be the first step into the creation. And after that, you will be able to change little more tricks and create more stuff. And that's, I think, a good start. And do not create to sell or to show off with your friends. At least at start, create to solve things you know you don't like, because it's really difficult to create when you don't know why you create.
It's true. You need a purpose in mind.
If you want to just create a trick to show off with your friends, it's going to be difficult because you don't know really. But if
you have to like reach into the world and try to like.
If you have that very classical effect, let's say, I don't know, a sandwich or a collector, and you just want to do that, but you don't want to touch the cards. Oh, that's a cool way. Try to do a sandwich effect without touching the cards. Okay.
So there's a new problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that will help to start the creative process.
I think that is really, really awesome, and I think that it's really good advice. One of the things that we do when we wrap up the show is we sort of go in a row, 1, 2, 3, and we mention something that came from this conversation, whether it's something old that we already knew or something new that we think is particularly valuable for ourselves or for other people. So for me, I love the idea of phasing out and not being attentive to what else is happening in the magic community. I find, and I have found recently, one of the things that we, part of this project, this Discourse in Magic, our podcast is to help people not spend more money on tricks. Because it's, not only is it, just a negative just to hand out money and get tricks, but also what you said, which is, the more tricks that you have in your brain, the less opportunity that when a problem arises, you're going to solve it yourself. You're going to reach to a solution that already exists to solve it. And I think half of the fun of magic is being able to come up with problems, figure out impossible things. That's the whole part of it. Performing someone else's impossible miracle is only a little slice. So, go ahead.
I would say that all art forms are created for you to express yourself. So, of course, when you learn, in the learning process, you learn what others have done and others' techniques. But the goal of the art form is, at one point, to express yourself. So, of course, at the beginning, you are learning stuff and principles and stuff from others. But the goal of that is to express yourself. It was like that before, and unfortunately, because of all YouTube and all that, it shifted. But it's not made to do that. It's exactly the same stuff compared with music.
Yeah.
If you are a musician, the goal is not to do in those cheap session and anniversary and weddings.
Yeah, you don't want to be a cover band.
It's important to do it first to get money, but it's important to do it to learn and to get the knowledge, and so it's an important phase. And I want to be sure that people understand that I don't say you don't need to learn anything from books. You need a couple of years, I would say.
You need a basics,
5 serious years of learning stuff. Because you won't be ready and you won't be able to create anything if you have not those basics. But the goal is to express yourself. That's the part. That's what's the case for the musician, for the cooking. I mean, if you get a book of cooking, and if you are an amateur, you just want to do the book. But if you want to be your job, cooking, it's not to do cooking that comes from a book.
Yeah.
At one point, you need to express yourself, starting by modifying little by little, and at the end, creating all that.
What a beautiful example that cooking is. It's such a perfect thing, because there are cookbooks the same way that there are magic books, and you probably need to use a cookbook the first bunch of times that you're learning how to cook.
That's the perfect, I know, that's a perfect parallel you have with cooking, because you have, you can explain, that's what I used to explain to non-magicians, to explain that we have in the magic world people who just get those books on how to cook, and after 2 years they create books on how to cook,
Yeah.
and most of the time they just put back the same recipes from the first 2 or 3 books they read, and it's stupid and nonsense. So, but it's important to have those basics during a couple of years, depending how much you work magic every day or every week. But I would say if you really love that and want to be at least a part-time job, if you want to be at a part-time job, if it's just your goal, you can do tricks from others. But if you want to be a creator and have your name out there, you need to know the basics to be able to modify them and create yourself, because that's the goal of the art form itself.
Okay.
Interesting. Do you have anything from the episode that you are taking from it?
Yeah. What I thought was really interesting that you mentioned was how a lot of the time you're releasing magic solely to have it under your name, right? Like, you don't create magic for other people to perform until other people are going to be performing it. And I like that idea of not worrying about what the magic community thinks about what it is that you're putting out, because that seems to be what everybody does. They're like, have you seen the new thing by this guy? Have you seen the new thing by that guy? Isn't he so good? Isn't he so good? But it's more about yourself than what other people are doing. It's like being a chef or a musician who only listens to other music. You know what I mean? You don't even play those songs. You know, you're just so focused on being up to date.
Yeah, and I'm happy when they like it. But I see magic as an art, and I just publish my art when I think it's time to publish, with the reasons I have for myself, and everybody has different reasons. But when I publish trick, I just publish the tricks, and I don't really care of what people will think. I hope most of them will like it. At least people who like my magic will like it. But I just publish to share my art and get reactions from those publications.
That's awesome. Any last words, any last thoughts for, there's magicians, you got a whole bunch of magicians with their ear to this episode, who knows how many, I have no idea, but they millions, yeah, if my numbers are correct, it should be millions. Anything that you want to tell them, either like a public service announcement, like something that they should know about magic, or anything that you want to share about your approach, what you do, what they should do, anything.
Questions they should ask themselves, anything like that.
I think recently with internet and magic and download and access to everybody and the lack of respect, we hurt the magic art. And it's not good for all of us. It's not good for sellers, it's not good for performers, it's not good for creators. It's not good because you can easily see bad magic today on YouTube, because people can learn from bad magicians.
Right.
They are performing really bad. So we are all that process is hurting the art of magic, and it's bad for all of us. So I would say that for people who are listening, try to respect our art, because it's our art and we are the only one who can protect it. So because we cannot remove or force people to do or not to do things, just try yourself to do what you think is best, and that should work.
How so do you mean respect it? Like what? Like I agree with you that there's a lot of teachers that shouldn't necessarily be teaching, and that's where a lot of people are getting their resources online. But what is it about when you say, like, how does that intertwine with respecting the art?
I think the problem is just with magic. A musician who's playing guitar will not explain how to play if they don't know how to play perfectly.
Right.
And you need to have a respect for yourself, and because magic is based on the secret, they see that even if they do a very bad move, at least because of the secret, they are safe.
Right.
Problem is that they are not.
That's not true.
And doing magic in a bad way, teaching magic in a bad way, explaining it when you don't have the knowledge, when you don't have the rights, because we didn't talk about it, but there is also a big part of that, especially on internet, is a lack of respect in different ways, towards the creator or towards the art itself. If I do a double lift on YouTube and I flash it, everybody who will watch my video will see what is a double lift. So I'm just killing the double lift
for everyone else.
For everyone else during a certain time, amount of time. But that's a lack of respect towards the other magicians and toward myself, because I'm showing off stuff that I don't know how to do.
Right.
So and that is hurting magic, and people are so we have Penn and Teller and other TV shows that are showing good magic, so it's like in balance. But if we try to think about before publishing if it's good for the magic art, before thinking if it's good for you, I think it would be better for everybody.
Yeah, don't be too worried about whether or not you're going to get views and full magicians, but worry about what you're doing to magic itself.
There is something I wanted to add on the creative before, and I forgot. Is my students, when they create something, so based on the advices I gave, they create something, and sometimes, most of the time, they create things that already exist. And they come to me and they show it to me and say, "Oh, that was published by Vernon in 1972."
Yeah.
And they are usually really sad, like, "Oh no, I'm so sad. No way, fuck." And I said to them that they should not feel that way, because when they created that trick, they were thinking exactly like Dave Vernon in the example at that time, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To create a trick, thinking that you have you got the same reflections and thinking as
one of the greatest magicians ever,
or anybody else. So I think if your goal is to publish, you will feel bad, and that unfortunately most of the problem with those young magicians. But if your goal is to create tricks, you don't feel bad creating a trick that already exists. First, you can use it. You can show it to your friends and say, "Hey, I created that. I know it's Vernon, but I recreated it." Hey, during
he made it, but I also made it.
During a couple of minutes, I was as good as Dave Vernon. That's cool. And the other thing I got from my student is that when they got something original, they want to publish. Like, I want to publish because someone is going to steal it from me. Or not steal it because I am not showing it to everybody, but someone is going to publish it because ideas are in the air, and everybody at one point comes with the same ideas. And they don't understand how I have a couple of hundred tricks since '96 behind me without publishing them. And of course, every month when some friends say, "Hey, watch that," I see tricks, and that's tricks that are from tricks I created, of course. But if you're a creative magician, if your job is to create, you will create more. It's not a problem. In France we say you lost one, you will get 10 new ones.
Yeah, and exactly. If you're a creator, then someone creating something that you've created isn't necessarily the end of the world. If you are a creator, if you create many things, if you...
Of course, I'm a little sad to say, I should have published that, but there is no way I can publish all my tricks already.
Right.
So I just pick the tricks I feel and I like, and I perform them, and after a certain time, I publish them. But that's the way it works, and I think it's better to do that, to just create tricks and have a couple of tricks. And even for a commercial point of view, if you sell one trick, it will not be as good as if you sell like a DVD with 10 tricks. or if you sell 5 separate tricks at the same time. If your goal is to have your name out there, it's always better to just keep that under during a couple of years and publish better tricks, more tricks at the same time.
Awesome. Let's say there's a magician out there who just listened to this and they are very excited to find out more about you. Where can they find you on the big old internet?
My website, MathieuBich.com. That's basics. They can join. I'm sending twice a year a free trick. Instead of selling it. And,
awesome.
And Theory 11, because we are working on some new things.
Exciting.
Awesome. And are you at all on Twitter or YouTube or?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
So you can join. We'll have fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the very exciting and very interesting interview about creativity. A lot of stuff that we've never heard before. And I think that that's really exciting. And I think that people are going to be very, very excited to hear it.
Cool. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Au revoir.
Thank you so much. Later. Boom. There you go. Really fun interview with Mathieu Bich. One of my favorite parts about it was the idea that a great first step in being creative is to take an effect that you don't like and change what you don't like about it. I just think it's such a beautiful starting point.
Yep.
And that's sort of one of the things that we're into, some actionable ideas to help you with your creativity. So that's something that I'm going to try. And I hope that you try it as well. Other than that, thank you so much. Make sure to check out the contest if it's still September. And otherwise, enjoy yourselves, have a good time, and we will see you at our very exciting episode next week.
Episode 26, that's halfway.
That's
52.
26. That
we could
is
Pharaoh shuffle.
That's right.
26 episodes from now.
That's right. Well, yes.
I guess we could Pharaoh right now.
That's what I'm
13 to
saying.
13.
We could have Pharaohed at 4 though.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're such fucking nerds. Okay, next episode later.